the author of The Meg, and it's a whole series of books. People will just know about this one now because it's getting a huge release. And by the way, the early buzz, which I was just reading this morning, is fantastic. People are saying this is the perfect end of the summer blockbuster, in-your-face, big effect type movie. Take us to the root first of when you wrote the book, and then we'll talk a little bit about the development hell, which you and I share some of, and then get to finally the release, which is coming up next week. So you decided to write this book as a young, struggling author who, it's your first book, right?
Yeah, what happened was that when I was younger, when I was 15, I saw Jaws in the movie theaters, and that got me hooked on reading the book and then reading anything I could find on great white sharks. And there was always a little blurb about Carcharodon megalodon, the prehistoric cousin of the great white, but nothing commercial had ever been written about it. And then fast forward 20 years later, when I was 35 years old, struggling to support a family of 5, in August of 1995, a Time magazine article came out on the Mariana Trench. And the Mariana Trench is the deepest part of the ocean, 7 miles down, this unexplored 1,550-mile long gorge. And I remember thinking, what was that shark that I read about when I was younger? It might be an interesting story to have this shark still alive in this trench. So I went to the library because there was no internet back then, and I did some research and found that it was feasible that the shark could still be alive. And I set my goal that I was going to write this book, and because I had a job during the day and evenings, the only time I could work on the book was at 10 o'clock at night till 3 in the morning on weekends. And I took about 6 months and finished the first draft of what would become Meg. And then I was able to find a literary agent in California who was interested in handling it. And we edited the book together. And on Friday the 13th of all days in 1996, I went to work. I was working as a general manager at a wholesale meat company, which is a bizarre story in itself. And they no longer needed me. They'd let me go. And I went home with virtually no money in the bank and a family of 5 to support. My wife was upset. I said, honey, this is the best thing that could have happened. Now I get to work on my second book. And she about threw a frying pan in my head. But 4 years later, Meg went out to the 6 biggest publishing houses in the country. And buoyed by the fact that we had a first book deal with Disney's Hollywood Pictures, garnered a 2-book deal. And that was my first deal.
That's fantastic. So, you'd get it. And by the way, the title of the book is Meg. The movie is called The Meg, and we'll talk about that with Hollywood stuff, what they do. You enter this period early on of success, right? And you're thinking the movie's probably going to get made at some point. But this is still 1996, and here we are 22 years later. The movie's finally coming out. Take me through some of that period of what they call development hell, where you think it's going to get made, the starts and stops and all that. If you can summarize in some fashion.
Well, excuse me. I'll summarize it by saying that my career has been a roller coaster, and I hate roller coasters. And, we went up with the movie deal and the book deal, but we went down within a year because the book deal was with Bantam Doubleday, and 2 weeks before I was supposed to get paid a lot of money, and we just moved into a new house, they canceled the second book deal with no explanation. And what happened, we found out later that they were being bought out by a German conglomerate, Bertelsmann, and the outgoing president was trying to improve her bottom line, so she started cutting all the front-loaded contracts, of which mine was one. And then within 6 months later, the president of Hollywood Pictures was fired, and that reverted the rights to Meg back to me. So in a span of 6 months, we moved into a new house, which I was now going to lose. We had lost about $1.5 million in book deals and movie deals. So, it was hard, and those things, I'm sure, were the seeded the Parkinson's in me, because stress is definitely related to acquiring the disease. But, I stayed with it and reset my goals, and we had a sue to get the rights back to the second book while I wrote the sequel to Meg, which is The Trench. And then over the years, I've written 18 novels. We've had, nothing happened movie-wise until 2004, when a friend of mine showed Meg to two friends in the business, Guillermo del Toro, the director, and Lloyd Levin, the producer of Hellboy. And they were interested in working with me on the project. They had me write a screenplay, which I worked on with Jan de Bond, who was attached to the director. Jan had directed Twister. And they took that package to New Line Cinema and got a movie option. And this was in 2005. So they brought in a new screenwriter who just ignored the source material and wrote his own story, which was horrible. It was like a Moby Dick with sharks, and made no sense at all. And that was the lowest point I think that I was at with the movie, that I didn't think was going to work. Fortunately, they didn't make the movie. They reverted the rights back 2 years later. And then I optioned it to a friend of mine, producer Belle Avery, who I knew believed in the source material. And we wrote a script together that she took out and traveled around the world about 20 times over the next 8 years and was able to put together financing. So the movie was independently financed with Gravity Pictures in China. And then they were associated with Warner Brothers, so they took the project to Warner Brothers for distribution. Warner Brothers wanted it in. And so Warner Brothers joined the group of owners, and they started hiring director and Jason Statham and the great cast that's in the movie. And that was 3 years ago, and here we are finally on the about a week away from seeing the movie.
And so now, yeah, flash forward to right now. You've certainly been dealing with some fans who some are negatively reacting to the trailer because, like you say, it like every book, there's going to be a variance between the book and the movie. But now I don't know, again, your roller coaster ride continues. The dips and valleys are probably getting shorter as you get closer to this part of the ride. The reviews just coming in right now, like I said, are excellent. So there's this super tension about it, and that could play positively, that people are just saying, well, I don't know, what is this thing? It looks amazing. Is it the B movie nothing, or is it the most exciting thrill ride I could imagine? Where are you right now, 1 week out? Well,
my fans have been very supportive. I mean, the movie and the book are never exactly alike, but they're close. And the tone of the movie, the look of the shark, the cast, they got that perfect. They really did. You can see the trailers. This is going to be an amazing movie. So the fan support has been very positive. The reviews have been great. The social media has showed that there's tremendous interest in the movie. And I think the trailers have combined for almost 200 million views, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
So I think that The Meg is going to be a summer blockbuster. I really do.
It sure sounds like. By the way, just small note, when they decided to call it The Meg instead of Meg, what did you think of that?
I didn't really like that at first, but it grew on me, and I understood why they did it, because Meg alone sounds like a woman's name, but The Meg sounds like something a little bit more fierce. And what I did was my publishing company, A&M Publishing, that owns the rights to the Meg book. We re-released the book under the Meg title with a movie cover and a prequel and 18 images that have never been seen before that are all included in the book. So it's a $16 trade back, and it's getting stores this week.
That's fantastic. And, by the way, as I hear the dogs in the background, it reminds me of that epic scene from the trailer of the little dog out in the ocean that sees the Meg and starts to doggy paddle back to the boat.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Hey, we're lovers. We get it. This part of your family. They're out there. They're barking their support for you. It's all good.
That's the pressure of having a home office.
Excellent. Hey, Steve, this has been so enjoyable. Is there anything else you wanted to add, either about Parkinson's or the Meg right now? We'll certainly touch base again to update on both of them. But anything we didn't hit that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, if you have Parkinson's and you're interested in trying this extract, it's not inexpensive, unfortunately, but it's something that's definitely worth taking. You can email me. If you go to stevealten.com, my email link is there. You can click on that, and that's the easiest way to email me. I'm happy to provide you information, or if you're interested in supporting the foundation that runs this this research, would be happy to provide you with that information as well.
Super. Really appreciate that, Steve. And yeah, we'll get that information out, and we'll talk to people, and we'll keep the good journey going forward. Thank you for all the good, positive work you're doing. Thank you for the entertainment. You're about to frighten into people in about a week, and I'll look forward to talking to you after the premiere, and we'll see what life looks like at that point, huh?
Sounds good, Robert. Thank you.
All right, Steve. Take care. For Faces of Parkinson's, this is Robert Cochran. We'll see you next time.